morning. Afternoon, I guess. It's past. I know I was a little bit late. My ear pods are still giving me issues. We're on Wednesday when Nick and I were recording. Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what fully to expect today. This obviously tire wear is a big issue, a big topic. But even the drivers, none of them are fully confident that we're actually going to see the tire wear like we saw in last year's spring Bristol race. And there's so much chalk today too, place differential wise, that we're going to have to very carefully construct with a balance of place differential and dominator, because there's still 500 laps today, and that's a ton of dominator points. It's laps led, that's 125 fantasy points, and fastest laps we're probably looking at least 180, maybe more, probably like at least 175. And then you got the fact that who's actually going to lead? What are we going to do with Alex Bowman on the pole? Does he have as good of a car as we think he is to stay up there? Is Larson going to get up there and just dominate like he did in the fall? Hamlin's up there. He's led 100 plus laps in like 2 of the last 3 Bristol races. Ty Gibbs is always strong here. But do we trust Ty Gibbs? It's there's a lot to talk about. Yeah, leading for it. Let's hope we don't get another Larson or even like Hamlin, just complete domination here. Blaney starts up there as well. I don't see Stenhouse leading much. Some of the guys that qualified well really didn't practice well and didn't really have good cars for the actual race. AJ Allmendinger starts 8th. He straight up said that his car is absolute junk early into a run. So what does that say with how bad he's going to be at later end of the run? Now, the thing is, these teams have more time and technically more data to prepare for these tires if there's fall off. You got to remember, track conditions today are going to be about 15 degrees higher than they were yesterday during practice. So will we even see this tire fall off? Because we didn't see the tire fall off in the fall. And nobody really knows. You talk to any driver, you talk to the crew chiefs, they think we're going to see it, but they're not 100% sure. And that's what makes this so difficult to try to handicap this race, which sucks because like we have a difficult race to handicap here at Bristol. Bristol always has a good amount of randomness. And then we have a week off with Easter next week. So it kind of sucks like having a not the easiest race to work with here heading into an off week. How many cars go lap down today? Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. It depends though on cautions, because if these tires fall apart like we think they're going to, cautions are going to keep people on the lead lap. But if the tires are falling down like they did last year, anybody that just kills their tires in the first 20 laps of a run is going to be so slow by the end of it that they're going to easily go down a lap or two, you know. Looking at the race last year, if you remember the spring race last year, 5 cars on the lead lap. That's it. It was Hamlin, Truex, Keselowski, Bowman, and Kyle Larson on the lead lap. John Hunter Nemechek finished 6th. He was 1 lap down. And then only the top 12 were on the lead lap or 1 lap down. 13th on back was at least 2 laps down. 5 cars on the lead lap in the spring last year. If we go back to the fall, which like I said, there was no tire fall off. The top 10 was on the lead lap. So yeah, I think it's going to be more than half the field, depending on when cautions fall. Yeah. Over under 10.5 drivers on the lead lap. That's a pretty accurate line, I think. Like, yeah, I don't have a favorite driver in NASCAR, really. Like I have my favorite kind of mid-tier guys or long shots. Like I really like Todd Gilliland. Zane Smith's my alter ego or my arch nemesis, not alter ego. Christopher Bell's my arch nemesis. But I like guys like that. But yeah, Truex has always been one of those guys that I do really like or did when he raced. Probably because he made me so much money in his dominating efforts. Is Logano a must-have? And can Haley? I'm not on Haley today. I'd much rather go John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek is actually, if there's any track that you want to kind of take a shot with him at, it's here. He has a pretty good track record here at Bristol. 3 top 20s and 4 starts, including that 6th place here in the spring race last year with all the tire wear. So is Logano a must-have? I mean, his fall-off looked so good in practice yesterday. It makes me like Blaney a lot. I don't think enough people are talking about Blaney today. But Logano, I wonder if, Kyle Busch, they said, is going to be at a disadvantage because he flat spotted his tires in qualifying. I wonder if the same thing's going to happen with Logano. He didn't slide like Kyle Busch did, but he still, he got wiggly there. I don't know if that's going to affect his tires and whether he's going to be down a set. But I don't see him as a must-have. Certainly we're going to build lineups with him in it, with Byron in it. Like, they both are starting so far back. You can't ignore that place differential. It's also, there's no telling, if it's hard to pass again here, they're starting 38th certainly isn't a good thing. They're going to catch the end of that field pretty quick. So I don't consider Logano a must-have today, no. PJ1 got reapplied. How will that change the race? I think it's going to, the bottom's going to be the place to be. Hopefully, I don't even know. That's the problem with Bristol and how it's changed between the 2 races last year. Like, I am, my mindset today with Bristol is I'm watching it more for the entertainment value, and I'm gonna put lineups in. I have bets in, but my level of confidence is quite low on where to go with this. And like I built before this, I built my lineups for the mini max, and I pumped up the randomization a little bit. I have a pretty wide spread of drivers I'm using today, just because that's Bristol for you. It's not one small mistake and a driver's race is ruined. Who finished higher today, Busch or Elliott or Gibbs? I think I got to stick with my boy Buescher. I think Buescher's going to have a great race today, but I think Gibbs could dominate this race early. And I think he's a top 10 car. And then a lot of people were liking Chase Elliott today. His long run speed looked good. There's no, I can't sit here and argue against it. But I think Chase is like a fringe top 10 car. Whereas I think Buescher's a solid potential top 5, and I think Gibbs could get there as well. So give me Buescher between those three. Yeah, yesterday's domination is, and not to mention his fall domination, is going to pump up that ownership a bit. You got to remember, like, Hamlin's up there too, and Hamlin has been great here at Bristol. I mean, he's won 2 of the last 3. He's led a ton of laps over the last few races here. So I don't think it's automatic. I don't think people are going to automatically go to Larson. I have him projected at 30, just under 35%. It might go a little bit higher than that. That's probably a little low. But I don't think we're gonna see a 50% plus Larson like we have at other races this year. Yeah, Bowman's so cheap. I agree. It's hard to make a lineup without Bowman. But the way I'll talk you out of just automatically hitting Bowman first plus is, remember back to the fall of last year when Larson led to 462. Bowman started on the pole in that race. He only led 34 laps, fell back to 9th. Now, the thing is, with him being, what is he, 8,000 today? You know, he doesn't, and I put this in my article on Rotoballer, he doesn't need a ton to hit value. You know, a top 10 run and, you know, a handful of laps led and fastest laps, and he's going to get there. And the upside is there for him to lead 100 plus laps. So it's hard to go against Bowman. I will note, though, again, this was another part in my Rotoballer article. Spring, or just the next gen in general at Bristol, pole sitter hasn't been a slam dunk for laps led like you'd think they'd be. I think 3 of the last 4, or 3, there's been 4 next gen races here on not on dirt. And so pole sitter, okay, this is word for word out of my article. Pole sitter at Bristol hasn't fared extremely well in the next gen era, as 3 of the 4 have led 36 laps or less, including Bowman last fall. But the number 48 Chevrolet had one of the best long run cars in practice this weekend alongside his teammate Kyle Larson. And like I said before, I'm continuing here from the article. At $8,000 on DraftKings, you don't need a ton out of Alex Bowman on Sunday for him to be optimal. With that being said, there's a strategy in being underweight on the pole sitter because he's sure to garner a good bit of ownership. But don't forget, he has Larson, Hamlin, Blaney, and Bell starting right behind him, and all of those guys could dominate. He loses the lead. It's hard to see Bowman taking the lead back. So it's just it comes down to how much or how long you think Bowman's going to lead to start this race. Pick 3 up top. The thing is, like, I think it'd be tough to do a lineup. I don't think a good lineup would be going like Larson, Blaney, Bell, or something like that. I don't think that's the way to go. A lot of people were talking about Byron today. You know, obviously he didn't qualify well. Bob Pockris picked Byron to win today. Obviously the place differential's there. He's got Hendrick's speed. Last year he was not very good at Bristol. Before that, 9th, 3rd, and 3rd. But he's one of those guys, like, I don't mind being underweight on Byron today. Because to me, he's not a slam dunk top 5 pick. And if he's going to be super high owned, I'd rather go underweight. And then if he has issues or if he can't get through the field, yeah, Trackhouse was bad in practice, and I'm concerned about this because Chastain's starting 35th. Okay, that's not obviously place differentials up there. This is a type of track that he can it fits his driving style, right? But what if that car is as bad as it was in practice? Just what if it was? By the way, he started 36th and finished 15th here last year as well. But what if that car is actually that bad? That Chastain will go down a lap so quick if that car is that bad that all of a sudden his race turns from now they're planning on how to get unlapped just to get on the lead lap to then hopefully find enough speed to move up. I don't know if I'm super committed to going heavy place differential today. Have an issue with Bell, Larson, Hamlin to start out. I'll throw it on here and we'll see what we're working with here. All right. So if we go, man, that's tough. So you go Hamlin, Larson, Bell, leaves you 59. See, I think you'd have to dip down to like a LaJoy or maybe even a Herbst. I mean, call me crazy, but I don't hate Riley Herbst today. At $5,300, I think there are crazier plays potentially there. If he could pull off a top 20, those 2311 cars look good on long runs. I think a lot of people might be overlooking Herbst today, and going for the hope for attrition with LaJoy or Ware, or I don't think you can go down to Balicki, but like LaJoy and Ware at least have like decent cars to work with. But let's say you go Herbst here. I don't have an issue starting out Bell, Hamlin, Larson. It's the question becomes, I like Nemechek today. I really like Nemechek today. Herbst is an absolute wild card. I don't know what to expect. Qualified decently well, and if you're going with Herbst, you're kind of hoping that he can use that track position that he starts the race to stay on the lead lap or just go one lap down and kind of, maybe eventually through attrition get into the top 20. I mean, Herbst gets to the top 20 at $5,300. That's good value. And it frees up so much cap space to do something like this, where you're getting a Hamlin, you're getting a Larson, and you're getting Bell. The problem here is you are avoiding all of the place differential plays, which, again, I am not against today, but is there enough dominator points to go around to make this make sense? Because essentially when you're going Hamlin, Bell, and Larson, you need them all to lead 100 laps for this to work out, assuming that all of the place differential plays, there isn't a big one and it takes them all out. But when you go all three of these guys, when you go three guys this high price starting in the top 7, you need them all to get significant dominator points. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Is this my first go-to when building a lineup? No. Can I make it work? Yeah, I don't hate this lineup at all. Going Hamlin, Larson, Bell, and then Zane Smith, John Hunter, Nemechek, Riley Herbst. I really don't hate this if I'm trying to force Hamlin, Bell, Larson into a lineup. But I think there's enough value in the mid range, in the mid 8,000s, even in the 7,000s this week, that you can't ignore that. I love Chris Buescher today. I think Gibbs has high potential today. Obviously Chastain is a place differential play there. Keselowski seems to always be strong at Bristol. Can you trust him? Josh Berry, good short track racer. Ryan Preece should move up starting 29th. Cindric looked good in practice. Hocevar, sneaky good in practice. Gregson looked good in practice starting 31st. Like, there's place differential plays down here. You don't have to necessarily go up top. But with this lineup, you're needing your big three to essentially split the dominator points. You need Herbst to have a great race in his first ever time at this track in the Cup Series. You need Zane Smith to probably pull off a top 12, which he's been doing quite a bit this season. I've talked myself into Zane Smith again this week. I know, surprise, surprise. And then John Hunter Nemechek. If he can just do his thing here, he's going to hit value at 6,000 starting 32nd. Playing good. It's not the most fun thing, but it's, by the way, this is why I don't play DFS golf. I have no idea what I'm doing there. I think like most of my lineups, half the guys didn't even make the cut. That was fun. But okay, now going back to Gibbs though, Gibbs is good here. And if you trust Toyota speed, if you trust Toyota long run speed, I think he can lead laps today. And starting sixth, $8,400. He just needs to have a normal race for him. I think this is a good buy low opportunity on Ty Gibbs. I'll say that. Made this lineup last night of Larson, Logano, Chastain, Buescher, Austin Dillon, and Nemechek. I like it. It depends if you trust Chastain. You could always come off of him and come up to like a Briscoe. That's probably what I would do. But do you trust Briscoe to actually do much? And then you could always go down off of him too. And you got plenty of room to work with. If you went off of Chastain here, I don't mind this lineup at all, just for the record. But if you went off of Chastain and came down to, let's go with Gibbs. You could grab a Gregson or a Hocevar. Or, if you wanted to go that RFK build and you thought Larson was going to be your dominator for today, you can go like a Larson, Logano, Kez, Buescher, Preece, Nemechek. Like I said, this is pretty risky because you don't really have a second dominator on there. That's why I think I'd rather go the Gibbs, because there's your second dominator, and then do like a Gregson or even a Hocevar. Or Bowman. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to go Bowman, like Bowman's an option here too. What's weird about Gregson's fall off is he looked really good from like his fall off from 5 lap average to 10 lap average, and then 5 lap average to 15 lap average, and then he tanked when it went 5 lap average to 20 lap average. I wonder if he got caught in traffic or if his car just tanked that much. It's hard to imagine his car actually tanking that much though, because Larson had comparable. So both Larson and Gragson had the same fall off from 5 lap average to 10 lap average. 5 lap average to 15 lap average, Larson fell off 0.24. Gragson fell off 0.27. But then when you go 5 lap average to 20 lap average, Larson was at 0.37 loss per lap. Gragson was 0.52. Like it was such a drop off. So he had comparable speed to Larson up until that 20 lap average, and now you kind of have to just try to figure out whether that fall off was due to something happening. Like, did he get caught in traffic? Did he have a really slow lap? And I am going to throw Gragson in here though and go with this Gibbs lineup. Shit. And pull up the lap data from Gragson just to see if he did have. Yep. So lap 18 on his run was crazy slow. Or lap 18 of him being on track. So that explains his drop off there. You compare his to still though, so comparing lap by lap, Larson on lap 28 of his run did a 31.396. Gragson did a 31.986. But up until then, Gragson had like good, if not better, lap times than Larson. So the first 12 laps of the run, I would say Gragson was better for most of them. But then once lap 14, 15, and 16 were all slow for Gragson, and then he had that super slow lap on lap 18. So I'm going to guess and try to assume here that they had an issue or something happened that caused that. So got off on a little tangent there, but yeah, I think Gragson has a decent enough car to get some good place differential here. So I would probably, instead of going Chastain, Austin Dillon, I think I'd rather go Gibbs, Gragson, and get a second dominator on there to go along with Larson. That also leaves you could do this exact same lineup with Hamlin instead of Larson, and I'm probably going to do that. It kind of scares me how much I like John Hunter Nemechek today. And I bet Zane Smith lap 10, or I bet Zane Smith for a top 10. I'm wondering over under lap 6 he hits the wall. Because I feel like every time I bet Zane Smith, he just shits the bed. But let me put this other line in from what we just built here. So go Hamlin, Logano, Gibbs, Buescher, Gragson, Nemechek. Punt place cheaper than Nemechek that I like today. I just have a weird feeling about Herbst. I don't think he's going to be bad today. Like everything, my brain's telling me that Herbst is not a good pick, but the $5,300 for him is enticing. That's super cheap, and it gives us cap flexibility in a week that we need cap flexibility. Because there's so many place differential plays this week, we kind of need that flexibility. So looking at his Herbst is about the only one in here. If you're going LaJoy or Ware down here, you're hoping for attrition. That's all you want. That's how they're going to get their finishes. I think Ware finished 17th here either last fall or last spring, I forget. LaJoy's always been good here. I don't know what the status is of that car. They didn't run many laps in practice, and I'm pretty sure they might have had like some kind of issue. But Herbst, okay. Herbst, 9th and 10 lap average, 7th and 15th and 20 lap average, and 6th fastest in 25 lap average. Fall off wise, he was comparable to in Group 1, he was comparable to he was better than Stenhouse. I don't even really have a good comparison here for him. Him and Nemechek ran very similar times, fall off wise. So if I like John Hunter Nemechek, I'm like Herbst is just one of those cap saver guys. But yeah, other than that, you're hoping for attrition with the guys like LaJoy or Ware. I think Jesse Love, I'm not on at all. Qualified too high for me. I suppose you could make the same argument that I'm making for Herbst as Love, but Ty Dillon probably qualified too high. He's going to end up, even a 20th place finish out of him isn't going to get you much on DraftKings. I think the math comes out to like 14 fantasy points or something if he finishes 20th, which would be a good race for him. So he starts too high. Custer, again, you're hoping for attrition. He hasn't done a ton. He had crazy fall off in his runs. I would assume something happened during his run where he had a slow lap or two. But yeah, if I just have a gut feeling about Herbst today. Not that I'm going crazy. I'm not. It's not like I'm throwing, you know, 30% of my lineups with Herbst in them, but um, I'll have some exposure for sure. I think just for comparison, I think I'm at about 8% Herbst. Somewhere in that range. What are we doing about Stenhouse? I have no interest in Stenhouse. Starts too high, and there's too many other guys that are much more likely to dominate than him. He had good 10, 15, 20, 25 lap averages, but I'm not trusting him. He was one of the first cars to go out, and even with those good averages, his fall offs weren't blowing anybody out of the water. So I'm not on Stenhouse today. I don't think I have any. Yeah, PJ1 being applied again today. Yeah, Priest is a good way to go. I don't know if people are overlooking Priest. By the way, once again, Pockrass is I hate that he's more focused on IndyCar. I just don't like that. Let's see here. Who finishes higher, Bowman or Blaney? Ooh, that's a good question. I think Blaney finishes higher than Bowman today. I think Bowman's about a top 10 car, and I see Blaney being a top 5 contender. Larson, Bowman, Gregson, John Nemechek, Logano, Chastain. Yeah, you can run that. I'd probably honestly go Buescher over Chastain. That's just that would be my reaction. And then you could maybe go like, if you didn't want to go Bowman, you could go Gibbs or something. But yeah, I'd probably go Buescher over Chastain. I'm not sold on Chastain today. Logano's too expensive. Yeah, it's it's a good point, and I'm usually against paying up for place differential. He definitely hasn't been good here in the next gen. I'll give you that. But before the next gen, he was really good here at Bristol. I did like Logano's lap times looked good today, or in practice yesterday. So it's hard to overlook that. Yeah, race is going to come down to who can manage their tires. I think that's going to, and yeah, pit stops are going to be huge. If you're building one lineup, you wouldn't roster Chastain, Logano, or Byron. Actually, you know, like my optimal projected lineup today does not have any of them. My optimal today is Larson, Gibbs, Busher, Bowman, Keselowski, John Hunter Nemechek. But just to have a build without Nemechek on it here to start, I'm going to do this. Which, wait, isn't that what we just built with Priest? No, I don't have any Priest. Same thing as before. You have an extra $100 that you could then grab Hamlin here instead of Larson if you wanted to. So this heavy RFK here with Busher, Kez, Priest. You got Grigson, Netherford, and then you got Larson, Gibbs as your dominators. But yeah, it stays away from Chastain, Logano, Byron. Yeah, young drivers don't know how to conserve their tires. I mean, we saw it last year. Like, you know, Gibbs had a great car last year until the end of the runs, and then he fell back. I mean, there were quite a few times in last year's race that I thought Gibbs was the definite car to beat, and you know, he ended up 10th, almost 2 laps down. Or was it 2 laps down? So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. That's why the guys like Keselowski, Busher's good at managing his tires. Hamlin, Larson, you know. Thoughts on Gilly and Jesse Love? Gilly's another one. He's not that great here, but attrition will help him get into the top 20. I don't see him suddenly like randomly sneaking in a top 10 here. I'd rather go Zane Smith for that kind of upside. Jesse Love, I don't have any opinion on Jesse Love. I'm not on him today. I think he falls back pretty quick from that 19th place starting spot. Larson, Bell, Chastain, Buescher, Nemechek, and Herbst. I do think people are sleeping on Bell today. I'm not totally sold on Chastain. I'm really not. If I like Chastain more, I would like this build though. I almost think I'd rather go Kez here over Chastain. And you could, not that Jones is that great here, but I don't know if you have to go Herbst with this lineup. I would be perfectly fine if there was an extra $100 here to use to roll with Logano, but I don't want to go off of if I'm going to go Herbst here, I don't want to go down to Ware just to get Logano. I agree. People will forget that dominators are necessary, and that's why I like building. Let's do this. Let's go Larson, Bell, Gibbs. Give me Priest. Oh, perfect. Larson, Bell, Gibbs, Priest, Gregson, Nemechek. You get your place differential. You're not paying up for it. You get 3 dominators. I like this one a lot. I know people don't like Gibbs today. I'm probably too high on Gibbs. But like I said, I think this is a good buy low opportunity on Gibbs. Are you happy with my optimal projected today? And what's my favorite variation of it? So optimal projected is Larson. What was it? Larson, Gibbs, Buescher, Kez. Nemechek, Bowman. I'm kind of talking myself out of Bowman a little bit. Variation wise, I like Buescher today. I like Gibbs. Obviously, Larson's Larson. I really like Nemechek. I don't hate it. I'm happy with it. But I'd also wouldn't mind doing something like this. Larson, Byron, Gibbs. I actually might like this one better. Larson, Byron, Gibbs, Busher, Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek. So you're getting Byron and Zane instead of Bowman and Hez. I'm not totally sold on Bowman. Kez is Kez. Byron should be really strong today. Byron should be at least a top 10 car, right? We're getting him starting 26th at a pretty cheap price point, relatively speaking. I think Zane. I like the front row cars and what they've done here in the next gen era. So that's why I like Zane Smith today. He's been a top 12 finishing, like, I think it's over half the time this year. Zane has. So starting in that 18th place, like he has track position to start the race, but he also doesn't start too far forward that it doesn't make sense to roll the dice on him. That's why I like Zane Smith today. Because if you get a top 12 finish out of him today, I think that's going to be really good. So, yeah, I like this lineup right here. Probably maybe more than my optimal. And you could also come off of here. You can do some different variations with this. So you could go Larson. With this one, go Larson, Gibbs, Busher, William Byron, Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek. Okay. Lock this one in. If you did want to go Bowman, you could go off of Gibbs down to Bowman. Larson, Byron, Busher, Bowman. $100 short from getting Gregson on there. Damn it. You could go Bell here then and stick with the same Zane. So you're going Bell. I'd still rather go Gibbs, Byron over Bell, Bowman, I think. But considering I don't have any Bowman lineups right now, give me this and then give me the same one, but with Larson. So Larson, Bell, or not Larson, but Hamlin. So exact same lineup, just with Hamlin instead of Larson. And we'll obviously have to build some Hamlin-Larson builds as well. So you go Hamlin, Bell. But this is also like those small pivots you could do. If you didn't want to go Bell, you could come down to Byron and get those place differential points. Fantasy Live lineup. Is this the contest where you have to, like, where you're restricted on number of times you can use guys? Larson, Bell. I mean, that's a solid line. Blaney, I'm not fully sold on, or I need to know the rules and the scoring If you get points based on number of laps led, I'd probably sub in Blaney. If place differentials in play, I'd go Buescher. If it's just finishing position, I'd probably go. I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. I have them really close. I think I have Buescher projected 7th and Blaney 5th. Yeah, Dominator points are so important. Yep, they are. Talking DFS, any longer bets? I hit Zane Smith this morning for a top 10 finish at 17-1. I like that. I like Ty Gibbs, top Toyota at plus. I think you can get it at plus 650. I'm checking now if you can still get Zane at 17-1. You can still get Zane at 17-1 on FanDuel. That's my favorite long shot bet today. I think it was ESPN Bet had Ty Gibbs stage 1 winner at 16-1. I don't mind that either. For some longer shot plays I got bet down to 12 now. Don't mind that at all. Custer's always been pretty good here, and we can say that everywhere though, and he's just not performing. And he's not only is he not performing, but he's not getting the finishes, but he's just not looking. I can't remember the last time that I was watching a race and was like, oh, Cole Custer is decent today. And actually showing some speed. So that's my issue with Cole Custer. Now, obviously, I'm probably I need Custer exposure. If I like Nemechek, I should like Custer. They have very similar, same price tag or similar price tags, same upside. But I'd still rather go Nemechek over Custer. Do we need Bowman in single or 2 to 3 entry? I don't think you do. And honestly, single entry, I'd probably stay away from Bowman in single entry. Because I'm not convinced that he leads a ton to start this race. So no, I don't think you need him. My projections really like Bowman, but when I hand build lineups, I'm getting away from Bowman. I think you need at least 2 dominators, even in cash. Last week's performance factoring into this race. Darlington and Bristol are quite different. You also have to remember that Larson crashed out of Darlington really early. And you couldn't really pass. So I don't know. I'm not a ton. They're both steep tracks, and then obviously Darlington had the tire wear, but last week's race was weird. Chastain and Logano a must in cash today. I don't think Chastain is a must. And I don't think Logano is either. Now remember, I'm not really a cash game player, so I'm not the best person to ask on that type of question. But I can I would rather go, if I'm going place differential, I'd rather grab my place differential from someone like a Ryan Preece and a Noah Gragson and hit some of these other guys, a Chris Buescher, instead of paying up. Chastain, we do not know if that car is that bad in the race as it was in practice. They're going to be in trouble during this race. Logano, yes, he's starting 38th, but what if he only makes it to 20th? So you're going to be paying $9,300 for a 20th place car that a lot of other people are on. If I'm paying up, I'm probably going up and paying for a Byron or an Elliott. Elliott looked really, his lap times look good in practice. And maybe that's the guy that nobody's talking about that we need to be on is Chase Elliott. You could do a Larson Elliott Bowman build like this. So you can go Larson Elliott, Bowman, Buescher. What if we went off of Buescher and went down to Preece? So you could do a Larson, Bowman, Keselowski. And I'm just doing this. I got off of Buescher because I have a ton of Buescher already. Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, John Hunter Nemechek. You could do the same line with Hamlin. Chase Elliott in the next gen era at Bristol, 2nd, 7th, 8th, and 2nd. I wonder what would be working with if we did a full Hendrick stack. I know it was in the comments a little bit earlier today, but if we went, Larson, Byron, Elliott, and Bowman. What kind of space would we be looking for then? Larson, Byron, Elliott, Bowman. You can go Herbst, Gilliland, Herbst, Nemechek. It's because I don't have any lineups with Gilly in it. So we got the 400 boys, Larson Byron, Elliott Bowman, Riley Herbst, Todd Gilliland. Most popular cash lineup, I don't even. It's tough. Like there are so many ways to go. I don't know if we're going to get a vast majority of people landing on the same lineup today. I feel like this race is going to come down to kind of like golf, where you're just hoping that 3 of your guys survive. All Toyota build. So you go, let's start off with Hamlin, Bell. I think you go Gibbs. I don't love going Reddick, but we might have to here if we're going all Toyota. Throw Nemechek on there. Let's see what Herbst gives us. Gives us 9. That gets us Briscoe, don't it? I don't hate this lineup at all. I don't hate this lineup at all. Hamlin and Bell grab fastest laps here. Gibbs can lead. Nemechek, you're hoping to move up. Briscoe's a big wild card. I like this. I like this a lot. If you didn't want to go Hamlin, you could go Larson, but this gets you off of Larson. And like we talked with Herbst, you kind of just need him to maintain. So yeah, I don't mind that build at all. I don't mind starting with that core of Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs either. And I'm curious to see, if we didn't stick to the all Toyota build there, what we could do. Why do I keep clicking that wrong? I don't know what I'm doing. Because if you go Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, I don't mind starting there. So Herbst. $100 off. Damn it. I was hoping to get Priest Gregson there. You could come off a Nemechek and get Custer to make Priest Gregson work. Or just come off of Priest or Gregson and go down somewhere else. Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, Priest, Gregson, Custer. I don't have any Custer, so I wonder if you could go. I don't mind that starting Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs. I think I like Briscoe. Going back to the all Toyota build, we ended up with Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, Briscoe, Nemechek, Herbst. You could go Bubba. I think I'd rather go. And you could also go Reddick. I'm going to put that in too. Reddick instead of Briscoe. And obviously, like you could also go Bubba if you wanted to. I have Reddick, Briscoe, and Bubba all very similar projection-wise. Dominator, I think you have to go at least 2 dominators. Max, you could probably fit 4. You could probably have 2 of the higher priced guys and Gibbs and Bowman. And it wouldn't be an awful line. Like if you had Hamlin, Bell, Gibbs, Bowman, like that, depending on how you wanted to go the rest of the line. I mean, you can go Nemechek, Austin Dillon if you wanted. I'm catching up on some of these older comments. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Zane Smith has been like sneakily consistent this year. How would you rank today? 3. I'm not avoiding any of them. I think they're all going to be good. I think Bell's going to be kind of slept on today. I think a lot of people are going to be focusing on Hamlin and Larson, and I think Bell is kind of get overlooked. So if I'm going to pivot off of one of them, I'm probably going to pivot off of Hamlin or Larson onto Bell. It's real hard for me to make a lineup I like with all 3. If I had to pick one Trackhouse driver, Suarez isn't good here. SVG is probably not going to do a damn thing today. So default to Chastain. Larson, Blaney, which I haven't built any Blaney lineups yet. Larson, Blaney, Bowman, Reddick, LaJoy, Gregson. I'm not sold on Reddick. I think I'd rather take Reddick off, go down to Kez or Barry or Priest, and then maybe go off of Bowman up to either Gibbs or Busher. That's one guy I haven't fit in either is Barry. But I don't think LaJoy is the way to go there. I think I'd probably rather go Herbst. Now, if you're mass entering, yes, you need LaJoy exposure just because of the attrition. But again, I'm not even sold on that car. I don't even know if that car is going to make it to the end. How many drivers do you have scoring over 100 DraftKings points today? That's going to take a lot. I'm going to go with one, maybe two. Larson, Reddick, Bowman, Priest, Gregson, Busher. Again, could go Gibbs over Busher if you wanted to. I don't hate it. I'm just not fully sold on Reddick. It's hard to pass up that starting position though, because that's one of those guys that you're not paying up for the place differential to roll with. And if you didn't want to go Larson here, you can obviously go Hamlin. You got that $100 to work with. Larson, Byron, Elliott, Reddick, Nemechek, Herbst. Yeah, that's not hateful at all. If Larson's your dominator. Like, Larson's going to have to lead a ton of laps with this line. And he's going to have to lead them early. So can Larson get ahead of Bowman in the opening laps is the question. You could also get off of go Larson, Bell, or Hamlin, Bell. The more I'm working these lineups, the more I'm liking the starting with Hamlin, Bell. What if we did this? Lots of ways to go. Lots of ways to go for sure. I think I have Bowman projected 6th. Yeah, I expect high tire wear. I think we're going to have another spring debacle like we did last week, which, that's why I said keep your make sure you have plenty of exposure to a lot of guys. Hamlin Larson build, you can definitely do it. You could go Hamlin Larson. Let me pull up my projections here quick. So if I lock in Hamlin Larson, so my projections want to go with this. If you go Hamlin Larson, it wants to go Hamlin Larson, Busher, Bowman, Nemechek, LaJoy, and that's just marginally better than Hamlin Larson, Bush. Like I would rather go Herps there. If we did like a Hamlin Larson, Gibbs, Kez, Zane, Herbst line. You could also, if you didn't want to go Gibbs, you could go Busher here. Let me know if you have any other starts or any guys you specifically want me to build lineups around today. I need some Blaney lines. Hammond, Blaney, Gibbs, Kozlowski, Gregson, and Riley Herbst. Turned off by Reddick. He's not very good here. He had a fourth place finish here in 2020. He did lead here last year, but you look at his driver ratings. Only one race here above 79. I know Nick is pretty high on Reddick today, and I'm just not. I'm not there on him. I could be wrong. I was completely wrong about Blaney last week. Barry over Priest? Yeah, I think Barry can. I think Barry is a very good tournament option today. Because most people are going to go to either Priest or Kez in that price range. But I don't know that Barry has the Dominator upside to truly make the math work. Like I think you have to hope for Kaz and Priest to have issues if you go with Barry over them. Larson, Blaney, Bowman, Busher, Nemechek, Gilly. Three guys starting top five. I think I'd rather go Bell over Blaney. I understand going Blaney, but I'm kind of talking myself more into Bell here. And then I think I'd rather go. I think I'd rather go Bell over Blaney, and then go Zane over Gilly. I like that. I like that lineup a little bit better. Yeah, I like this one a little bit better. And actually, I already made that. I already made this exact lineup. Just notice you could go Gibbs over Busher. 4 guys starting in the top 7, though, is risky. But you could go Larson, Bell, Gibbs. Priest, Gregson, Nemechek. Or if you didn't want to go Gibbs, you could go Busher. I think I am going to do that. I have quite a bit of Gibbs right now. There's just a lot of ways to go because you could then you could come off of Bell, go down to Byron. There's just so many ways to go. All right. Lock that one in. I think I got 2 more lineups left. Closing in on an hour until lock time. Yeah. Thanks for signing up. Appreciate it. For all my content's posted on rotoballer.com for anybody that isn't aware. You can use code Jordan25. It's gonna get your price down a good chunk. It's gonna take 30% off. You get my algorithm, you get my DraftKings lineups, you get my DraftKings projections, you get my bets every week, which have been on fire this season. This is I ended up, I think, between last year and this year, I'm plus almost 90 units. This year, I'm up 20 already. Really happy with where the betting card is, and DFS is it's fun and frustrating at the same time. But yeah, rotoballer.com. Use code Jordan25. Hamlin, Larson, Bowman, Busher, Nemechek, Herbst. I feel like this was, yeah. Can't disagree with this one at all. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. It's always the less than a point ones that hurt the most. And I went through a rough stretch in DFS to because I used to I played high dollar contests and that's it. Like that's how I made my money at DFS. And I either won big or I lost big. There wasn't really an in between. And there were so many times that I would finish like if the top, for example, top 100 spots paid, I would finish like 101st or 102nd. DFS NASCAR is the most exhilarating yet also frustrating thing in the DFS world. I understand that like the footballs and the basketballs, they have their own sweats, they have their own excitement. There is nothing like playing DFS NASCAR where you can have the perfect lineup all race and then one minor thing happens at the end of that race and just completely kills your day. It is frustrating yet awesome is the best way that I can put that. I am going to roll with this one here. Hamlin, Larson, Bush, or Gibbs, Cole Custer, and Riley Herbst. By the way, if you want to play in my private DraftKings contest, let me put the link here in the comments for you guys. $10 to play in my contest. Top 10 positions get paid. Pretty fun little contest. Cheap one to, you know. FanDuel lineup. Blaney, Bell, Busher. I'm not fully familiar with FanDuel and everything. I haven't played FanDuel in a while, so I'm not sure on their pricing. It doesn't look bad. Curious what if you could get someone else instead of Blaney with that. So there's I just put the DraftKings contest for today in the comments there on YouTube. So you can join that if you'd like. Yeah, I'm not huge on FanDuel. I wish I was more versed in it, but I kind of like between their bad. I was just never great at building FanDuel lineups, and then they're so small. Sometimes I'll get like I'm pulling up FanDuel now. Sometimes I'll randomly want to play there, you know, just run a few lines to two-factor authentication. I have to wait for the code here to get. By the way, I don't like two-factor authentication. But last night I was trying to log in and bet something on Bet Rivers, which does the two-factor authentication shit. And it was like, enter this code. You have 5 minutes until this code expires. I didn't get the damn code for 2 hours after I requested it. Like, what? I understand why two-factor authentication is needed in this world, but damn. Is there anything worth playing on FanDuel? What's like a good contest to play? It's like these contests are like the $33, 36 people. All right, let's see here. Okay, so your FanDuel lineup was Blaney Bell, Busher, Priest, Bowman. Leaves you an extra 200 to work with. Why not do something like Larson, Bell, Busher, Priest, Gregson? instead of Bowman. That's probably the way I would go is go Larson, Bell, Busher, Priest, Gregson. And that's just me. This is the first time I pulled up FanDuel in probably a year. If you really wanted to go deep on the if you didn't want to go Gregson, you could jump down and grab John Hunter Nemechek. And then come off of Busher and go Chase Elliott or even William Byron. Either one of those two are solid. So yeah, then you could go Bell, Larson, Elliott, Priest, Nemechek, or if you did want to go Blaney, you could go Blaney instead of Elliott, and then Hamlin instead of Larson. It's tough. Hamlin and Larson are a toss-up to me. But yeah, that's probably the route I would go on FanDuel. How many laps and how many so lap wise, I'm assuming you're asking how many laps are in the race. It's a 500 lap race. So I would at minimum have 2 dominators in your lineup. 3 is probably a little bit better, especially with Gibbs and Bowman there in the mid-range price. And you could, if you went both of them, you could go 4. But minimum 2 dominators, comfortable with 3. More comfortable with 3. Yeah, 500 laps today is a ton. We need to hit those dominator points for sure. I might end up playing FanDuel today. Kind of liked how that lineup came together. And like I said, I haven't played in a while. All right. Yeah, with the number of dominator points, I don't know if these place differential plays, especially the ones that we're paying up for, are really the best way to go. Because think about it. Let's say Logano finishes 15th. Let's just do the math here. That's 23 place differential points. And just comparing that to dominator points, like, to go off of a Logano and grab a Gibbs or jump up to grab a Bell or something, that it does not take a lot of dominator points at a track like Bristol to get 23 points. I mean, it's 92 laps led, and it's $51 fastest laps. So you're adding the fact that like I think we can safely assume that these guys that are starting in the back are not going to grab dominator points. Like Logano's not going to get up there and lead a bunch of laps. Most likely. Even if he was starting top 10, I don't think we wouldn't be talking about Joey Logano winning this race and dominating it. Same with Chastain. You know, if they did qualify well, they're probably not going to get fastest laps. So I think I'd rather take the leverage of having, instead of the inflated place differential plays of the Logano's, the Chastains, and their high price range, I think I'd rather pay down to a guy like Priest, try to get my place differential points there, and have the flexibility up top to have a Larson and a Bell, or a Hamlin and a Bell, and then sprinkle in. I think that's the way to go today, especially with Bowman and Gibbs in that middle price range. You know, in that $8,000 to $8,500 price range, because Gibbs can be a dominator today. Bowman, you know, start on the pole. He's going to be a popular dominator pick today. I think that's how I'd rather go than go with these, you know, getting too caught up in these place differentials. Yeah, 100%. And I forgot to put this on the screen as I was talking. Yeah, I do. I like going with the guys that historically have grabbed fastest laps here at Bristol, and the guys that are going to compete for the win, and that is the big three: Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. And then it just comes down to which combination you put together. And even guys like Byron and Elliott, yeah, I can see him getting up there. I can see him being good, but Chase Elliott does not really put up many fastest laps. And Byron, I don't like, when he's not starting up front, he doesn't either. So are we really going to pay $9,900 or $9,600 for guys that, yes, they're going to get us, you know, if Byron finishes 6th, that's 20 place differential points. I'd rather have the upside of a full-blown dominator, and then also have the advantage and the leverage of what if something happens to Byron or Elliott when they're in the middle of this field. You know, because it's not just because they're starting in the back doesn't mean they're going to automatically make their way forward. So in the next gen era, Larson, Bell, and Hamlin typically grab a good chunk of fastest laps. Ty Gibbs, the last 3 Bristol races, fastest laps have been 17, 45, and 40. There have been a few others. Last fall, Chase Elliott grabbed 37. John Hunter Nemechek grabbed 24. I think that might have been tire strategy. I think this is going to be my last lineup here. Larson, Bell, Bowman. Gregson, Priest, Zane Smith. If you guys have any more questions on this slate, go ahead and throw them in the chat quick. Otherwise, we got just under an hour until lock. So I'm going to hop off of here. Hopefully we get a good race. Hopefully, I think we're going to get an entertaining race. I don't know how that's going to translate to this DFS wise and betting wise. It could be a very frustrating day, but it could be a very fun day to watch, which I feel like is exactly what I was saying after the Bristol spring race last year. So, a lot of different ways to go strategy wise today. I can't really, yeah, and that's the big question. Is the slumps. Kez has shown speed. He's just had quite a bit of bad luck. So I'm not overly concerned about Kez has actually shown some speed this weekend. Previous weekends this year, he has just been completely off the radar. I don't think he's that awful or that off this week as he kind of normally is. Gibbs, like I said, it's one of those situations where I think it's a buy low scenario, and obviously it's hard to tell. Like nobody expected him to be this bad and off to start the year, but if he's going to turn it around, it's going to be here at Bristol. So definitely understand, their slumps and trying to time it right, but I like Gibbs today. My projections like Keselowski. I'm not quite there, hand building Keselowski in. But I can also see him getting there. I mean, I love Buescher today and I love Priest, so why would I not like Keselowski, right? So if there's no more questions or anything, I'm going to let everybody go. Good luck today at Bristol. Hopefully it's an exciting race. Hopefully it's a good one. Remember, it's going to be frustrating, but as always, check out my stuff, rotoballer.com. Use that code Jordan25. It's going to get you a discount. It's going to help me. So thank you guys for tuning in. We have an off weekend next week with Easter. Then we'll be back for Talladega. I don't know if I'm going to have the chance to live stream for Talladega. We'll see. I think I have plans that day, but you never really know. I could get there. I'll let you all know that weekend. But good luck today at Bristol. Thank you all for tuning in and enjoy the race.